The age of techno-feudalism, power, platforms, and the hollowing out of democracy. Yanis Varoufakis argues that capitalism has not evolved into something better or more efficient, but into something older and far more dangerous, techno-feudalism. In this system, markets no longer dominate economic life. Instead, power is concentrated in digital platforms that function like feudal estates, owned and controlled by a handful of corporate lords. Citizens are no longer primarily workers or consumers. They are dependents, trapped inside privately owned digital domains that extract value without traditional production or competition. Unlike classical capitalism, which relied on profit generated through markets, techno-feudalism thrives on rent extraction. Platforms such as Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Meta, and X do not merely participate in markets. They replace them. They own the infrastructure, control access, set the rules, and siphon value from every transaction that occurs within their ecosystems. This is not innovation-driven capitalism. It is a return to feudal relations, upgraded with algorithms, cloud computing, and surveillance. Platforms as digital fiefdoms. In Varoufakis' framework, platforms are the new castles. Amazon controls logistics and cloud infrastructure. Apple governs access to software and devices. Google and Meta monopolize information and advertising. Microsoft dominates enterprise software. These corporations do not compete on equal footing. They own the terrain on which competition is supposedly taking place. Users and businesses alike become vassals. Developers pay rent to app stores. Merchants pay rent to marketplaces. Media outlets pay rent to algorithmic distribution systems. Even governments increasingly depend on these platforms for data storage, communications, and infrastructure. This dependence marks a fundamental shift. Economic sovereignty has migrated from states to platforms. The state as a junior partner. What makes the current moment especially alarming is not merely the power of techno-feudalists, but the visible submission of political institutions to them. The White House, under both Democratic and Republican administrations, has increasingly acted less like a regulator and more like a broker for platform interests. Donald Trump, in particular, made this relationship explicit. Rather than maintaining even the appearance of distance, he openly conducted policy and deal-making in alignment with tech oligarchs. Whether it was tax policy, antitrust inaction, defense contracts, cloud infrastructure, AI development, or space and satellite monopolies, the U.S. government repeatedly negotiated on behalf of corporate platforms, using public authority and taxpayer resources to secure private advantage. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, Tim Cook, and others are not merely wealthy executives. They are systemic power centers. They shape labor conditions, control information flows, influence geopolitics, and increasingly determine the technological boundaries of society itself. When the state defers to them, rather than governing them, the distinction between public interest and private power collapses. Democracy without power. Techno-feudalism does not abolish elections, it hollows them out. Voters can change presidents, parties, and parliaments, yet the underlying economic architecture remains untouched. No election can vote Amazon out of logistics, Apple out of devices, or Google out of search. These platforms are structural monopolies, immune to democratic correction. This is why Varoufakis insists that we are no longer living under capitalism. Capitalism at least contained internal contradictions that could be challenged: labor movements, antitrust laws, public ownership. Techno-feudalism offers no such leverage. Power is centralized, opaque, global, and shielded by intellectual property, trade agreements, and regulatory capture. From citizens to serfs. The ultimate danger of techno-feudalism is not economic inequality alone, but political infantilization. Individuals are reduced to data points. Governments become clients. Public policy is framed as partnerships with platforms that cannot be voted out, regulated effectively, or meaningfully challenged. When the White House takes its cues from corporate techno-lords, democracy becomes ceremonial. The state no longer mediates between capital and society. It serves as an enforcement arm for platform dominance. In this sense, techno-feudalism is not a future threat. It is the present condition. Conclusion. Varoufakis' warning is clear. Unless societies reclaim digital infrastructure as a public good and dismantle platform rent extraction, we are heading deeper into a neo-medieval order, one where sovereignty belongs not to citizens, but to code, clouds, and corporate castles. Techno feudalism is not an exaggeration. It is the most accurate description of a world where power has slipped beyond democratic reach, and where governments increasingly govern for the lords of the digital realm rather than the people beneath them.